We believe that every student has the capacity to be a leader. I think one of John Maxwell's famous quotes is that leadership is influence. You know, there's so many reasons why it's important. So it's important for the development of children. It's important for the development of our future of, America. To me, I almost feel like leadership is empowerment. It's helping students feel empowered to have some sort of self-leadership in their life and the choices that they make and the decisions that they make in order to help guide them to move forward. But I think that it is also, there's some work to be done in realm of redefining leadership.
Corey leads the nationally recognized Gwinnett Student Leadership Team and supports a district-wide peer leadership program that's developing confident, character-driven leaders from elementary through high school. Kind of your thoughts a little bit. Your host, Greg Steely. You already did that. Welcome to Leadership Unscripted. That's one of the better ones I've heard. That's really good. Today we're talking about student leadership and the power of giving students a voice with Corey Stillwell. Coordinator of Student Leadership for Gwinnett County Public Schools, Corey leads the nationally recognized Gwinnett Student Leadership Team and supports a district-wide peer leadership program that's developing confident, character-driven leaders from elementary through high school. His work is an absolute masterclass in what happens when schools make leadership development a core part of their student experience. Corey Stillwell, my man, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. We're so excited to have you. You and I were talking a little bit beforehand and just the partnership that we've had with you over these years and just watching you as a leader lead at the level you do. This is going to be really, really good for our listeners, especially of those that are trying to figure out how to navigate student leadership within the context of the school. So let me ask you this question. Let's start really kind of big picture. Why is student leadership such a critical part of the Gwinnett County Public School system experience?
So I think that it's something that we firmly believe in because we believe that every student has the capacity to be a leader. So, I think one of John Maxwell's famous quotes is that leadership is influence. And we believe that all of our students have the capacity for influence. And so no matter where life takes them, so what career path, what, journey they go down, we want them to be the leader in every field, in every industry. And so that starts with school. And so embedding leadership and character development in schools. So that's kind of like a foundational belief that I think that we have.
That's awesome. Hey, Corey, because I don't know this story about you, and I don't know how many of Corey's there are in school systems around the nation. Talk a little bit about how you landed where you've landed with Gwinnett County. And there may be details you don't want to share about that, but whatever it is, how did you get where you're at, and how can that inspire other districts and counties or states to see the importance of a leader like you? Now, Gwinnett County will say you can't have Corey. You cannot have Corey, but you can replicate Corey, right, and the importance of that. Talk about your journey to get here and why Gwinnett County has embraced this position as important.
So I think before talking about me, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about GSLT, the Gwinnett Student Leadership Team that you mentioned earlier. We're now in the 30th year of that program. And that program really birthed out of our Leadership Gwinnett program with the Chamber of Commerce. So our previous director of GSLT, she was in that program. She met a colleague from Georgia Power and they said, hey, we need something like this for students. And so then that kind of birthed that program. For me and my journey into this seat is an unusual journey because my degree is in social work. So my bachelor's is in social work. I received my bachelor's from UGA, and then I went to NYU with kind of my sights set on being a therapist. But through my internship at NYU, I worked at a high school, and I loved being in the high school setting. So when I moved back to Georgia, I was lucky that Meadowcreek High School had a school social worker opening. I applied. I was blessed to get that opportunity, but I was brought in through a grant. And kind of what I was told is that, I was given some strategic advice from a colleague, and they said, hey, if you want to stick around, you need to become so valuable that they can't lose you. And so I started taking on extra responsibilities. And one of those just happened to be student council. And when I met with the kids, I said, hey, like, what do we do? Like, what do y'all do? And they're like, we do homecoming. And I said, okay, that's great. And then after that, like, what's the next thing? And they were like, oh no, that's it. And I said, oh no, that's what we used to do. That's no longer what we do. And so then I just got really strategic with the kiddos about targeting areas of improvement that they wanted to make. So we really focused on school spirit to begin with. And that's what I like to say is the first domino that started setting up a culture shift and change at Meadowcreek High School, where kids started going to games. Then we started winning games. Then we won soccer state championship, which is the first state championship Meadowcreek had ever won. Then after that, we won basketball state championship. Football started going to playoffs for the first time in decades. So there was a real shift, and it was a palpable feeling that you could feel in that school. And the principal at that time started really investing in me and my work, and really believed in it. And I will say that that's an opportunity that maybe most principals wouldn't see or wouldn't invest in. And so really kind of repurposed me as a school social worker to be really kind of working with the community more and really bridging the gap between school culture, staff, and like kind of the community. And so made those shifts. And then I moved into being an assistant principal for almost like the last year. So during COVID time, I became an assistant principal. I stayed connected with student leadership because I'm the assistant executive director for the Georgia Association of Student Councils. So I was still in the student leadership world. But then this position opened up because my predecessor was retiring. And so then they were kind of restructuring this role to support GSLT, but also to support our peer leadership program, which is a high school course, a middle school course or club, or an elementary club. And so when I saw that opportunity, that was really my passion when I was at Meadowcreek. And so I jumped all over this opportunity.
That's incredible I mean, if you think about that, right? Think about that journey. And it really was all about you becoming more confident in your leadership, right? Seeing something. John always talks about great leaders are leaders who see more and before others, right? You're a testimony of a leader who saw more, not in just the opportunity, but you saw more in students. You said that at the very beginning. And then you saw before, because nobody had really thought through how to build this out, and you've kind of come in and done that. And now I'm sure there are countless. Well, we know most of the students at the event we were just at Gwinnett Arena were your people, were your students. And they're hungry for leadership. And so you've set an incredible foundation. So your story is great. If you're in a county or a state, you need to go get you a Corey Stillwell is what you need to do. That's how important this is.
It is so important. I think there's so many reasons why it's important, right? So it's important for the development of children. It's important for the development of our future of, America. But I also think it's important from a principal district leader lens as well, especially in terms when you think of school improvement. Because when you shift culture and you have a culture that people want to be a part of, okay, so then we're talking about that's recruitment and retention strategies, right? Like that's how you're going to keep people in your building and how you're going to get people to want to come be a part of the special thing that you're creating in your building. So I see it kind of as twofold, right? And then also it just strategically makes sense. They outnumber us. So the kids far outnumber all of the adult staff in the building. So they're your boots on the ground and they are hungry and excited about being a part of something and being a part of change. I think that, when I came in at Meadowcreek, like I had kids who were hungry, the desire was there, they wanted it, they needed somebody to hold them accountable, and then they needed somebody to help remove barriers for them. And that's what I felt like my job was to find a way to say yes to them and to find a way to move the needle forward, but also do it in a strategic way where, sometimes like they had 50,000 ideas and things that they wanted to do. And I said, we're going to focus on one and we're going to do it really well. We're going to be exceptional in this one thing. And then next year, we're going to maintain and add. And so we kept building that way. And so, my first student council meeting, I have pictures of this that I love to show. But like at the first meeting, we had maybe 40 kids at the student council meeting, and I thought we were doing great. I was like, oh, like this room's really full. Like this is awesome. 3 years later, maybe 4 years later, we had to meet. Our first meeting had to be in the gym because we had over 400 students coming to the student council meeting. So much so that we had to bump basketball practice back because we commanded and needed the space because we had students that wanted the best in their school and their community.
When you know that you're a part of something that is huge, when you're making a sports coach and a team move something, because those people are the most OCD controlling people. And we love you, yes. Coaches, we love
Absolutely.
You, but you know who you are. And the fact that here's a testimony to the school too, right? They got it.
Yep.
They got what you were doing.
And
right?
the coaches knew that those kids were going to be who showed up for their games and cheered them on and supported them.
That's
and
right.
they need that support. I mean, it is, we have the saying about the 12th man for a reason, right? Like it plays an impact in the game. So,
and that's students leading up.
Absolutely.
That's one thing that I love about what you guys do is you talk to students about 360-degree leadership, which is, one of John's books, 360-degree leadership. And what young people sometimes don't realize is it's really easy to lead down, a little more difficult to lead across, right? Very, very difficult to lead up. And sometimes a student feels ill-equipped to lead up, and you're giving them the opportunity to do that. That's a great example of that. Hey, you said something earlier, and you've mentioned student council a couple of times, and that makes me think about is when I was in high school, leadership in high school was really, when I was in high school, only associated with student council, right? I mean, that's what teachers thought. If you're a leader, if you're on student council or you're a class president or you're the captain of the team, you're a leader. Everybody else is not really there. Talk about how what you're doing is changing that, that focus to being more inclusive of everybody being a leader.
Yeah. So I love this question. I think what we're doing is we're expanding kind of the traditional definition of what a leader is, and what a leader looks like. And so I think that we have created avenues for diverse leaders to engage in. So, for example, student council, I didn't have any requirements to be a member of the student council because just like in society, everybody has a voice. Everybody gets a vote. Everybody gets a voice. And so it's the same. I've felt very strongly that that's how it should be on the school campus as well. But our student council, and in my personal opinion, the foundation of student council is really school culture. Whereas our peer leadership program in Gwinnett is really about being kind of a peer mentor, an ambassador. So, I think about peer leaders as onboarding new students, welcoming people into their building, tutoring, constant mentorship, sometimes conflict mediation with the supervision of a school counselor. But then they also serve our staff in terms of student aides, or they serve the elementary schools, and they go and they are teacher aides at the elementary. Then we have GSLT, which is kind of a train the trainer model, honestly. So they receive student leadership training, And then they are tasked with taking that back to the school and re-delivering to their school teams, which is a broader range of student, to kind of have a trickle down effect. But particularly with peer leadership, that door is open for any walk of life, any students. There are not a whole lot of parameters except for good character. So that is really kind of where we are trying to diversify what leadership looks like and ensuring that students have the access and opportunity for those leadership opportunities.
That's really good. It's just strong. We live in an age now where so many students need to feel the responsibility and the weight of leadership, right? Not in an oppressive way, not in even in a mental health age that we live in, not to create anxiety of that responsibility, but to understand that you have a weight of responsibility to everybody that you come across. And the fact that you guys are doing such a good job of navigating them through that. Tim Elmore always writes about the guide on the side, that you guys are a guide on the side for them. You're not leading for them and you're not pushing them into leadership, but you're going to guide them through that responsibility. I think it's just powerful.
And, and to me, I almost feel like leadership is empowerment, right? So it's helping students feel empowered to have some sort of self-leadership in their life, in the choices that they make, and the decisions that they make, in order to help, guide them to move forward. But I think that, it is also, there's some work to be done in realm of redefining leadership and seeing it not as, I'm the sage on the stage and I'm, wagging my finger, I'm bossing you around, I'm telling you what to do. Or I'm a politician or what have you, like the traditional sense of the term leader, redefining kind of what leadership looks like, and particularly self-leadership.
So good. You mentioned peer leadership. Tell us a little bit about your peer leadership conferences. Talk a little about the impact they have. What's the motive behind them, the why of these. I think they're really, really cool.
Yes. So peer leadership, we have a high school conference. So all the high school peer leaders come together. They have motivational keynote speakers. They have workshops. And then they have time to network with one another as well, in order to really have that time of professional development. And then to have that time for professional development from nationally recognized facilitators, which is a very special opportunity. So we have at the high school level, the middle school level, and even the elementary level. And I'll tell a funny story. My first year I did the elementary conference. We had 900 4th and 5th graders come to this conference. And if you work in the elementary space, that's a lot of kids. That's a lot of kids. There's a lot of voices.
Yes, it is.
Yes. And so I was like, okay, year 2, we're going to 2 days. We're split it up. We'll have like 450. It'll be more manageable. Well, we had more schools kind of buy in and hear about the conferences. And so we went to 2 days of 900. So then this upcoming year, we're going to go to 3 days, and we'll see what the numbers shake out. But between elementary, middle, and high, we had over 3,000 students attend our peer leadership conference programming. But I think it's really important for them to have time for that professional learning from national leaders. But also, it's important for them to have time to collaborate with others from other communities within their same county and their same district, because we are a huge district and a huge county. And so, there are going to be similar issues that they can talk about, but then there's also going to be differences. And then that's an opportunity for perspective taking, and to really kind of, I think, bridge the gap sometimes from what sports create, right? Like sometimes sports create division, us versus you. Whereas like, this is really a time for us to come together as a county, as a district. And so really collaborate for growth and progress.
That's so good. How many total students in Gwinnett County?
we have roughly 182,000 children. And then we have 141 schools, I believe, if I'm correct.
Right. 3,000 of that number is a really good number of leaders, right? I mean, that's of elementary school. I mean, of total kids, but when you're talking about bringing it close to 1,000 elementary, 4th and 5th graders, by the way, how loud is that event?
It's high energy. I can tell you that.
Yes,
it is high energy, and I leave the conference sleeping very well.
Oh my gosh, I can imagine. Oh man, 4th and 5th graders. God bless their little souls, right? But I'm so glad y'all are doing that. Hey, a couple more questions as we wrap up here. This has been great too, Corey. Thank you so much for this. As someone who works very closely at the intersection of leadership and career development, okay, what do you think that our schools are getting right in that, and where do you think we still have some room to grow?
So I'll start with the room for growth. I think the room for growth is investing more in leadership and investing more in these opportunities. Because I think, unfortunately, sometimes we still have this belief that this is extra. So, you hear talk about, 4 core, and 4 core is important. I'm not saying that math, science, language arts, social studies, that's not important. I'm not saying that. But I am saying that we do have room to really invest in character development, in leadership development. And these things make students marketable in the job market. Because this is what I think is the gap difference maker. For people for the next stage of their life, because especially if we're preparing students for the next stage, this work is that work. I think you're starting to see, I'm starting to read more articles, that talk about, when people are interviewing for jobs, they're lacking soft skills. But, to me, they're not soft skills. They're essential skills. You have to have them. You have to be able to talk to people. You have to be able to communicate effectively. You have to be able to problem solve. You have to be able to have grit, because life requires those things. The workforce requires those things. So I think that we have opportunity to invest. I think from my lens, especially, earlier talked about there's not many around the country. I can tell you that in the West Coast, there are roles that are similar that it's way more common in the West Coast. There is a me in Maryland, in Montgomery County. And she and her office is doing fantastic work. But the South, the Southeast, the Northeast, there's not many of these roles and the investment in this role. But I think that in time, we will see major dividends from investing in this work. So that's the area for growth. Things that I think that particularly Gwinnett and what we are getting right is that we are investing in this work. We are investing in these resources. And I'll tell a quick example of where I saw payoff. And that's with one of our schools. They took their training, they re-delivered it for their student groups like what they normally do. But then they decided to take it a step further. And so one of my GSLT teams at a local school re-delivered for their entire staff. And I got the opportunity to see them deliver this training. And so their training was kind of around identifying your leadership style. But then they also had some perspective taking as well of how you show up. And through conversations that teachers were having, that students were facilitating, I saw teachers cry. I saw them get emotional. I saw people leave and say that was the best training that we've been to all year. And so,
wow.
I think that is super powerful. And that is some work that I've kind of taken that nugget and really shared that a lot with my different teams, that I would like to see more of that, because, I think with our school staff, they respect and they enjoy professional learning, but it is like a renewed sense of energy when you have a student coming in and kind of taking charge and leading that. You have learning occurring, but then you also have this sense of hope of what the future is going to look like.
Man, that's so good. So good. Hope, right? We just talked to Superintendent Ellen Weaver of South Carolina, and one of her big initiatives is hope, giving students hope. And I'm not sure it's something that I needed as a kid when I was growing up, or at least I didn't. It wasn't as prevalent as a need because there were so many less distractions, obviously,
Right.
When we were growing up. But now there's so much hope, which is a great thing that we're able to help provide it. It's a sadness that it's needed,
Right.
In the bulk that it's needed. Last question. Talk a little bit about some advice. So somebody's listening to this. They're in education. They're going to be inspired by you and what you've done and your rise to create and be a part of where you guys are. Talk to someone, and I want you to talk to Corey at Meadowcreek, right? So let's not talk to somebody that's at the higher level. Let's talk to somebody that's a teacher, Meadowcreek, where you started, and they're like, man, we need this. I need to start this in our school. Give one or two things. Hey, start right here.
Mm-hmm. I think it starts with a caring adult. So an adult that genuinely cares about students, and wants to create a family-like atmosphere on their school campus, that has authentic relationships with students. Relationships are so important. And the only reason we were successful is not because of me. It is because of me and the students. Like it was us as a collective. But had they not taken the reins and ran with it, nothing would have happened. But also I was pulling the lever of accountability, right? Like, hey, we are going to succeed and we're going to start changing some things. So I really think building relationships with the students, but also accountability. And what accountability looked like to me is like when students weren't meeting the mark, I replaced them. So I know that sounds harsh, but if you are not doing your job, then you got to be able to let go. But I created other opportunities for them. So I had one student who I said, hey, I don't think this is working out. You're not showing up. You're not doing the things that the expectation requires. However, so you can leave, or we're going to find a different role for you. What would you like to do that is better fit for you? And he decided to stay, and he thrived. And so but I think he learned a lot through that, but then other students did too, about like, oh, the accountability is way up here. So for me, it's about building relationships coupled with high accountability. I think that that's where you got to start. But if you think that any person can do this, it can't be. It just cannot. It has to be somebody who really cares about the kids at the core. And then the rest that are just X's and O's and you can figure out.
That's really good, man. Hopefully people are taking that to heart. I mean, you can start, right? Just start. Just like you said, be a caring adult.
Yes.
Just care enough to start. All right, a couple of rapid fire questions. All right, these you don't even know what's coming, man. You got to be on your toes.
All right, I'm ready.
And be ready. Now, listen, there's softballs. Okay, there's softballs. You're an education guy. I'm not going to make you overthink here. All right, so let me ask you. You have an hour, and you're granted you can spend that hour with any leader, dead or alive. You get an hour with them. Who would it be and why?
Oh man, that is tough. Actually, I'm probably going to choose Simon Sinek. Actually, a lot of his core principles and belief just really speak to me. Especially, you talk about his book "Leaders Eat Last." And some of it may be coupled with like kind of like my Southern like roots and how I grew up. But I think I would really like to pick his brain about culture and leadership, but I think that would be somebody I would like to.
That's really good. Love him, man. He's got a way with a word, dude. It's amazing. Yeah, doesn't he? Yeah. Man, gosh. All right. You're a UGA guy. Go Dogs. Right? I mean, yep. Sports guy with UGA or
yes.
Yeah. Okay. Football team. All right. To win the national championship, UGA must have this happen, and you can't say go undefeated?
I think they have to have brotherhood. So I mean, I think to me it goes back to, I have this debate all the time with there's a colleague at work that we talk about, what's more important, talent or culture? And so I'm somebody that of the belief that culture is paramount, that you can have some really talented players, but if you don't have a culture, you're going to crumble and you're not going to win the national championship. So to me, I think it starts with culture and standards.
I love it. Spoken like a true leader, man. That's incredible. Thank you. Andrew McPeak, our good friend Andrew, told me Corey's going to blow you away. He was 1,000% correct on that.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. I want to thank you for, first of all, being on the podcast, taking the time out to be a part of this. It means a lot to me and to our team. Secondly, we appreciate your support, your leadership, your partnership with what we're doing for students, and just allowing us, man, to just be a part and be on the stage with you in front of your team and locking arms with you. And we couldn't ask for a better partner.
Well, I couldn't either. I appreciate the partnership so much.
Yeah, we do too, buddy. So, hey, thank you. Have an incredible week, man. Go Gwinnett County. And everybody, you've heard from the man, Corey Stillwell, today. It's time to get out of the seat and let's go make these students believe they're leaders. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.